No, there are some stereotypes about Americans, and we want to know what is true and what is false. So I've read a stereotype, and you please comment on it and say whether it is true or false. So, and the first stereotype is connected with arms, so weapons, and it is that every person has a gun in his pocket. Do you have?
Yeah, I do not own a gun, and many people do not own guns in this country. And in fact, in most states, in order to carry a gun on your persons, you need a special permit. It's called a concealed weapons permit. So I know that this is certainly what most people around the world think about Americans, is that we love guns and we all have guns. But I can say, for most of the people I know, this is not the case. Many Americans do own guns, but certainly not all.
I see. So it is false, and you shouldn't be afraid to be shot in the USA.
That's very true. And I'm glad to see that someone
Yes.
feels safe in the United States without a gun. I'm very happy. So do I.
Okay, and the next stereotype concerns fast food. It is people think that all Americans eat only fast food. Is it true?
Many Americans do, simply because it's very inexpensive, it's very cheap, and it's very convenient. You can get it quickly. So many Americans do, but certainly not all. I haven't eaten fast food in a while, in a long time, just because it tends to be unhealthy. So depending on if an American is conscious about their health, they probably won't eat it. But it certainly is very common.
I see. And if a person doesn't eat fast food, what will he or she eat then? Or will he go to a restaurant, or he will just buy something? He will just buy anything at the shop and cook it.
Sure. If Americans cook, which some do, they might cook at home. But restaurants that aren't fast food are very, very common. So they aren't incredibly expensive. So many people, and oftentimes myself, will eat at a restaurant where you come in and sit down.
Could you explain? I didn't understand. So eating in restaurants is very expensive, but do you go to?
No, most yeah. No, it's so you have fast food where you'll come in, get it, and leave. Right, you'll take it home and eat the McDonald's, for instance. But there are other restaurants that aren't fast food that are still not expensive. So many Americans will eat at those restaurants and not the fast food. Does that make sense?
Yes, now I see. Okay, thank you. So this is true, and if you go to the USA, you should be ready to eat fast food or spend a lot of money going to restaurants. Yes, and the next stereotype is that Americans rarely travel abroad. Is it true or false?
I would say yes. There are certainly the more wealthy Americans have been, maybe to Paris or to the Bahamas, some island somewhere. But our country is so large that oftentimes we will travel within our own country for vacations and stuff like that. But it just depends. If Americans have the means, like the money to travel abroad, they probably will, but I know many Americans that don't. For instance, I received my first passport to leave the country last year, and I'm 24 years old, so I went 23 years of my life without ever leaving the country.
Okay, and where did you travel?
To Russia, of course.
Really? Okay, and we'll speak about it a bit later. And okay, and do you travel around the country, around your country?
Yes. Well, for instance, I go to school. My university is 700 miles, so 1,300 kilometers away from my hometown or where I live. So it's very common to travel within the country, for sure, to the coast or to the mountains.
Okay, it is more popular than travel abroad, but within country it is. Americans more often travel within the country than they travel abroad. Okay, so it is true, this stereotype is true, Americans really seldom travel abroad. And the next stereotype is that any person in the USA earns much money, even if he or she doesn't have education. Is it true?
I wish it was, but I don't think so. I think the difference is the dollar is usually worth a lot of money in other countries, right? So, for instance, if I go to Mexico, my dollar will be worth a lot more there than the Mexican peso. But there are many people in the United States that don't make enough money to live on. I mean, poverty is a problem in the United States. Just as any country. So it's if you're educated, if you have a degree, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, you will make more money, but everyone is not wealthy in our country. I see a question about money without education. It's just the truth. Jobs that do not require degrees, I mean, they just don't pay as well normally as jobs that require training or education.
So it is false, and to be a rich person, you should have education and should work a lot. And if you don't know nothing and you have no skills or talents, you won't be rich. Okay, it is clear now, and the next stereotype is that New York is the capital of the USA. A lot of people think so, and is it true, and why do people think so?
Well, people often think New York is the capital because it's one of our largest cities. It's one of our most famous cities. Everyone knows the Statue of Liberty. You know, when you think of America, the Statue of Liberty. But in fact, our capital is a city called Washington in the District of Columbia. So Washington, D.C., as it's often called. And that's where all of our government goes.
So is it smaller than New York, and that is why not everyone knows that it is the capital of the USA. So Washington is the capital of the USA. And the next stereotype is that Hollywood is a film studio. Is it true?
Not quite. Hollywood is an area or a section of Los Angeles, which is a very large city. It's one of the biggest cities in the country. But Hollywood itself is an area of that city. But that is where most of the film studios in the United States are located, is within that area of Los Angeles called Hollywood.
So it is not a film studio, it is a district of Los Angeles. And the next stereotype is that Americans' favorite clothes is jeans. Is it really so?
Certainly our favorite type of pants. I think every American owns a couple pairs of jeans.
Okay, and so it is true that you should wear jeans to look like an American. And and the next stereotype is that Americans don't study foreign languages because all the world speaks English. Is it true?
Это неправда. Да, я изучаю русский язык, потому что я изучаю русскую историю. Так, много американцев не изучают русский язык или иностранный язык, но some do. It just depends on who, what they study. Many people speak Spanish. Thank you very much for the compliment of great Russian. But yeah, the most common language in America is probably Spanish, but many Americans only speak English, but certainly some like to study other languages.
And people in chat support you, and I think those who didn't know that you can speak Russian were really surprised, and there are some of them who you already know from your previous not webinar, but from your class which you had some time ago with our group, English group. And we have some questions for you. And the first question is, and I will ask you it in Russian. Ной, почему ты учишь русский?
Я учу русский язык, потому что я изучаю советско-американское отношение, и это очень важно понимать документы и читать дипломатические документы и так и так. Speaking of electric Russian. Ну да, потому что я люблю русский язык.
Как это приятно слышать. А что для тебя самое трудное в русском языке?
В физике, по-моему, склонение, и сопровождение очень трудно для американцев.
Окончание, наверное, в словах.
Да.
Хорошо. Понятно. Есть стереотипы у американцев о России?
По-моему, русские не счастливы, потому что не смеются. Да, так, это самые большие стереотипы о России, потому что мы смеемся так много, and Russians don't. We often think that.
Да, я поняла тебя. Да, это неправда. Мы смеемся, мы улыбаемся, просто улыбка у нас отличается от улыбки в Америке. Smile is something that a person should deserve, because we can smile at our friends, at our relatives. If a person, if we like this person, if he's nice to us, and then we can smile. And it is really difficult to see a person who smiles at public transport or in a shop or on a street. But in a circle of friends or with our relatives, we can have fun, we smile, we laugh, and etc.
Yeah, my Russian friends smile often to me. Но когда я был в России, все знают, что я американец, потому что everywhere I went, so they knew I was an American.
And there is some question about stereotypes. It is that all Russian people drink vodka. Is there such stereotype in America?
Absolutely. That is a very large stereotype. When people think of vodka, they think of Russia, and vice versa.
Okay,
Often.
but
Yes.
it is not true.
That's right.
And my sister, there is one more stereotype that in Russians, that all Russians have bears at their flats, and some think that they walk on our streets and we can say hello to it.
Yeah. I think it's more of a joke in America than a stereotype. I think oftentimes people might joke about that, but no one really thinks it. I see a question about the visa process. I had to apply for a visa when I went to Russia. It was on a student visa, so I applied, but it wasn't nearly as difficult as it was for my Russian friends to get an American visa. I know that's очень трудно. So it wasn't so hard for me.
It was the same difficult as to get American visa.
No, it was not as difficult. Yeah, it was easier for me.
Yes, I see now. Okay, thank you. And maybe you have some questions to me or to our participants. We will be glad to answer your questions.
Да, я хочу знать, какую историю вы учили в школе, потому что в Америке мы изучали американскую историю и, может быть, Европу историю, но не русскую историю.
В школе мы изучаем разную историю. Например, мы изучаем древнюю историю, ancient history. Также мы изучаем историю средних веков, medieval history. И мы изучаем современную историю, contemporary history. So different types of history. There are a lot of subjects which are connected with history. And Galina has written that know nothing of American history in our schools.
I'm not surprised. I don't know necessarily why they would teach American history in Russian schools, but I'm very happy to hear that there are so many different types of history studied. Потому что я аспирант в историческом факультете в моем университете. So I'm very happy to hear that history is a subject that is studied in Russia.
Russian history, some participants helped me to answer. And what else? Soviet history, and some. Irina is surprised that you have history, and I see.
We're very young, but we have it.
And Елизавета wrote that she learned the history of law of foreign countries, but I think because I think she studied it at the university, but not at school. Okay, and do you have any other questions?
Not that I can think of. This has been very informative.
Okay, maybe our participants also have questions to you, because when you start speaking Russian, the interest to you increased, I think. And the question is, when are you going to come to Russia?
Но я был в Воронеже в прошлом году. Я не надеюсь, что я вернусь в следующем году, но I don't know. I want to go back, but I have to have the money and the visa. I have to have a reason. So if I continue to study history into the future, maybe I'll try to come to Russia in the next couple years to study in the archives.
To study what?
For archives.
Yes, I see. Mm-hmm. And how long do you? Oh, yeah. How long do you study English?
How long have I studied Russian? 3 года? Да, 3-4 года.
Do you have classes at your university?
Да, я изучаю русский язык сейчас.
Я поняла. И how many classes do you have a week, for example?
For Russian language, or just in general?
Russian language, I mean.
4. Да.
Is it enough, or you would like to have more?
I think the most important thing to help me learn Russian is to speak it with someone else who speaks it. I can read, I can study all the conjugations and declensions all I want, and read out of the Slovar all I want. But to really learn it, I have to speak it. So this is very helpful. This webinar is very helpful.
Yes, you're right. And what did you? There is one more question. What did you read in Russian? Did you read anything? Pushkin, for example?
Да, Pushkin, да, Pushkin, Тургенев, да, Гогол, да, конечно. Да, у меня русский преподаватель, да. And no, unfortunately, I don't have any relatives from Russia. I was just always interested in the history, so that's what got me interested in the language.
Maybe to great.
Yeah, I have no family that's from Russia, unfortunately.
And the question is, do you have a Russian teacher?
Yes, I have a Russian teacher now. She's from Nizhny Novgorod.
Yes, Margarita. She is from linguistic university, and I think you saw some webinars with her. Your teacher is Marina, yes? Marina Sokolov, yes, I see. Yes, and his teacher is from Nizhny Novgorod, yes. Okay, it is very interesting to know a lot, to learn this information from you, that you can speak Russian. It is so pleasant and nice, and it's really cool. Come to Nizhny Novgorod. Yes, I think you don't have relatives, but now you can have a lot of friends in Nizhny Novgorod, and you can come to Nizhny, to Yaroslavl, and
Yaroslavl, отлично.
Yes, you will have friends which I think will have to learn your Russian, and who can do an excursion for you or something like that. And there are most of fans are from Nizhny Novgorod, then come to Nizhny Novgorod first, and then to Yaroslavl, and then to Moscow. You can, but start with Nizhny Novgorod.
Отлично.
And the Volgograd.
Yes, also.
Yes, that's all. If there are no if there are no any questions, I think we can finish our webinar, but of course I should say спасибо тебе, огромное, большое спасибо за твои ответы на вопросы, за то, что ты помог нам понять разницу между английским вариантом английского языка и американским вариантом английского языка. Мы много узнали сегодня, поэтому спасибо тебе. И я хочу сказать спасибо всем участникам также за внимание, за активность, за вопросы. And I really liked to speak to you and to get acquainted with you. And I hope that one day you will we can communicate and we'll make one more webinar. It depends on you and on us, of course. And we hope that you will help us in the future, and we will help you with your Russian. We'll try.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Okay, and there are no questions, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you very much. There are a lot of thanks to you today.
And to answer Daria's question very quickly,
yes.
American bands are like, we mostly listen to American bands. It's maybe British bands, but mostly Americans are popular in America. So I know she'd been asking that question for a while. But,
okay.
Yeah, thanks so much. This has been
so Noah, thank you. Thank you very much, and I should say goodbye.
Всего хорошего. До свидания.
Goodbye, bye-bye.